Welcome back, everybody. Our first guest tonight is an Oscar-winning actor, producer, and director. Recently received a Tony nomination for his Broadway debut in Good Night and Good Luck, which is playing at the Winter Garden Theater through Sunday. Please welcome to the show the one, the only George Clooney, everybody. I'm so happy you're here.
I'm wearing a hat to hide my bad hair.
Yeah. I'm glad you just jumped in and explained
it's bad. It's still dark on top.
Yes.
But it's gray
so
on the bottom.
how do they dye it? When do they dye it for the show?
I dyed it about the last time I did it was about 2 months ago.
Okay,
so
gotcha.
You get that really nice looking grow out now of gray.
Yes, right. So this is it looks great on stage, by the way.
Sure.
But off stage, it looks like you are trying to get away with something.
Yeah, it really looks bad. It looks like you're going through some horrible like midlife crisis. I'm 64. Midlife is a little stretchy.
Now, Amal thinks it's funny, the hair.
She thinks it's funny. She'll be glad when it's gone.
Gotcha.
You know.
How quickly after the last show are you gonna?
So last show's Sunday.
Yep.
We do a matinee.
Yep.
And then by the time we go to the Tonys that night, it'll be gone.
Oh, that's very.
I may have a shaved head. I may look like Yul Brynner, but
that's all right. It might be good luck. He won a Tony, so you know.
Oh, he did.
Yeah,
Thanks.
showing up like Yul.
Yeah, no.
That's.
I'm not thinking very positively about winning a Tony.
Well, you should just think positively about being nominated. That's a very cool
Well,
thing.
it was very nice. Yeah, it was nice. Yeah, it was nice.
Did you? I mean, it's a wonderful show, but you know, it's a big do And do you have pre-show jitters? Was that something you had to deal with?
I still do. You know, it's funny. I'm playing this guy. You know, that Edward R. Murrow, who took on McCarthy, but he was also one of the most trusted men in America, and he gave these very famous speeches. If you studied journalism. And you know, we gave away 1,000 tickets to students two different nights, and they all know these speeches.
Right.
And you know, I screw them up sometimes. And they let you know. Like I'll say one word wrong and you'll hear, nope. By the way, when did we start talking in theater?
Wrong.
But that's what they do.
Yeah, especially when they're getting free tickets.
Oh,
Yeah.
You'd think it'd be a little more polite.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I wouldn't mind if they all just like gave sort of a withering sigh, but to yell out nope, that seems...
Nope hurts.
Yeah, nope hurts.
Nope. Now, it's been, you know, when I was a kid, my father used to stand on a chair and do these speeches for me when I was a kid. So I kind of come by this whole thing naturally of doing this play.
And it is. I mean, also, you know, he was incredibly eloquent, and you were incredibly eloquent on stage. So you can't look like somebody who's trying to remember what you're about to say. Yeah.
It's really rough because he has these long-running speeches that go on forever. And, you know, I'll be halfway through it going, not going to get through this.
Yeah.
Not going to do it. I'm going to mess this word up.
Now, I know it's television and it's different, but certainly in the ER days, that is like incredibly dense and also like, you know, the terminology.
Supraventricular tachyarrhythmia.
See, amazing. So I would imagine if anybody can do that.
Wait a minute.
If anybody can do that.
Now, I'll tell you the truth. We used to do these things, they're called oneers. You'll do like 12-page oneers. So it means nobody can screw up. You got to get 12 pages of dialogue out. And nobody can screw up, you have to start all over again.
And you're oftentimes with oneers, you're moving as well. So there's a filical element.
And I'm at the very end of the oneer, at the page 12, I have one line. Supraventricular tachyarrhythmia. And I'm telling you, I never got it. And literally, we did like 40 takes, and the rest of the cast is like, are you kidding me? And I'm like, I'm sorry. I finally just turned my head and ducked, and I think I looped it.
Oh, yeah, then later you
I've never gotten it wrong since then.
No, that's fantastic. Yeah, so that's, I mean, now when it has no value to you,
I say
you can nail it every time. Yeah.
I said it right here for you.
You did not stumble on it at all.
No.
It was very lovely. My wife and I came to see the show, and we got to speak to you afterwards. And I'm wondering, has that part, I mean, it's such a, taxing show. You get through it, and then I would imagine because of the show it is, there's probably people you have to say hi to every night. You were so gracious to us.
We had a great week this week. We had yesterday was Paul McCartney was there.
Real good.
He was a singer. He sang with the.
That's nice of you,
Yes,
giving him a shout out.
Wings,
Yeah.
And
Wings, he did a lot of good work with Wings. Yeah.
And then we had Bono was there the night before it, and then the Obamas were there.
The Obamas showed up, and a lovely photo.
Oh, yeah.
There's are there the Obamas there?
Oh, yeah, look at that. My mom came. Yeah, that's right.
That's fantastic. How were the Obamas? Did you get nice feedback from the Obamas?
Yeah, they like to play.
That's
You know,
good.
they're pretty impressive people. You
Yeah.
know, and so it is funny when they walk in. You know, I walk out on stage and sometimes you get applause and sometimes you don't, depending on how they feel about you. He walks in the room and they all stand up and applaud.
There you go.
know? It's like,
You mentioned your mom saw the show, and your dad comes from a journalism background.
Yeah.
I feel like my dad's really good. My dad's good at giving real good, honest feedback. Do you
Yeah.
feel like my mom loves everything I do? God love her.
oh, that's good. That's helpful.
Does your dad give good constructive feedback? Can you tell?
He has some stuff he wants to talk to you about. Yes.
Okay. I'd love to get him on the phone. I'd love.
My father does give constructive feedback mostly, but you know they're still very they're always been very positive and very it's never been like, boy, you really screwed up, oh brother, where art thou? Or so,
Right. He's like, I like the other two guys.
Yeah, I like the other two idiots. You're really too stupid for the part.
You Broadway softball league.
I'm wearing the hat. This is
You're
my
wearing
Broadway,
the hat.
softball league.
You do. There's some photos. You do.
Yeah.
And have you got that? I mean, this guy knows what he's doing with a
Come
bat
on,
and a glove.
man. I'm batting 500 right now. But you listen, I have to be honest. We have a softball team, the Good Night and Good Luck softball team, and we are 0-3.
Okay.
Have not won. We've been rained out the last 3 weeks. So
Okay, so you started 0-3, and then the weather got on your side.
Yes, and then it's something that we've been helped. And our last very close loss was to Harry Potter.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we lost to, children. I'd like to think they were using some sort of magic.
Yeah, I would definitely. I think you can protest any loss to the Potter kids.
Okay, I will try that.
You did, but I mean, certainly back in the day, you did. You tried out for the Cincinnati Reds
Couple years
twice.
in a row, yeah.
So now, did the second one go better, or did the second one go? Because again,
it went a little better. No, here's the funny thing about that is, when I was growing up, the Reds were the biggest thing in the world. There was Pete Rose and Joe Morgan and Johnny Bench, and it was just the greatest, one of the best teams of all time. And we could go see ball games all the time. They did a really cool thing called straight A tickets. If you got straight A's, you could get 5 pairs of tickets to go to a Reds game. This is when it was the Big Red Machine.
Yeah.
You could look at my report cards for those years. The only time was during the baseball season that I got good grades.
It's a real good advertisement for bribery. Yeah.
It's not a bad move, really.
No.
And then so I played high school baseball, and they brought me out to try out, and I really thought I was going to be a professional baseball player until I saw like a 84-mile-an-hour curveball. And I fell backwards, and I realized, I better find another profession. I had all the skills except talent.
Yeah.
I
did it really click that fast the first
it
time?
It actually did, because I was kind of a contact hitter. I was a leadoff hitter, and I had a 32-inch Pete Rose Louisville Slugger bat, and I could. It was really hard to strike me out, and I could just constantly just hit it. And so I've got this minor league pitcher pitching to me, and he's just throwing it over the plate, and I'm like, pop, and I'm like, I'm going to be playing with the Cincinnati Reds. Pop. And then this guy looks at me like, you're an idiot. And then he throws like the curveball at me, and I fell backwards. And I think it was on the outside of the plate. And then I stood up, and I was like, so that's it. That's it. I'm not going to be a professional.
You're like, thank you for your time. I appreciate the education.
Find another career.
There you go. This is a relevant story when you co-wrote and directed it as a film in 2005.
Yeah.
It is again today.
Sure.
It's about taking on McCarthyism, and it's about the relationship between politicians and the press, which is certainly as fraught now as it's ever been.
Yeah.
Do you feel it when you're doing it on stage that the audience is plugged into this story about the past, but very much in?
I think that well, look. In fairness, I think that this is an argument that we have, and we should continue to have endlessly, which is about the battles between freedom of press and no politician on either side or on any side really wants a perfectly free press, right? They don't enjoy it. It doesn't help their cause. They want to be able to manipulate it. And so that is an argument that is constant. It's a little more relevant now, and you can feel it in the room, because they feel like Murrow is a really smart guy, and he handled a demagogue really well by using facts and using his own words. And it's fun to hear somebody really smart and their words against a bully, kind of. And so I find that plays pretty well in that room, which is fun,
It's really fun. And there is also, though, I think everybody's watching the play and they remember, the triumph of Murrow and the fall of McCarthy, but then they also kind of forget that, like, at the end, the network wasn't like...
He got fired.
Yeah. And
He
I
got
think
fired.
that part is really,
Murrow got
especially
fired.
today.
Well, we had, Bill Owen was there a couple of days before he quit 60 Minutes, and he was very moved by the play because the people who were on that stage, the characters who were on that stage, Don Hewitt, they all started 60 Minutes. And so there's that sense that there's a cost to this, to telling the truth, but you have to stand up for it. You have to.
There's a very cool thing that you're doing, which we actually mentioned in the monologue. You're going to tape it live for people on CNN are going to be able to watch. So you have the added pressure on your second to last day.
Live TV.
Live TV.
Yeah,
so
no
you're
problem.
adding that to, and this will be an actual show. There'll be people in the audience, but it'll also be broadcast live on CNN.
Yeah.
How long into the run did you have this idea?
About 15 minutes ago, I came up with that.
I don't think that's enough time, George.
No, I really screwed up then. We just announced it. We haven't really planned anything. No, it's this is one of the plays. There's going to be a road show for it, and I think we might end up in London, but it won't be the same thing as what we're doing now. And I think it's a fun thing to be able to see. It was fun when the tickets in Broadway are expensive, and there's something about the democratization of Broadway in a way. So people should see how fun it is to come to see a big Broadway play. It's exciting to be in that room, and it's exciting to laugh at stuff that you wouldn't necessarily laugh at if you were watching at home by yourself.
Oh, it's great.
And they were doing watch parties, and people are dressing up in the 50s clothes. And stuff. They can have my hair if they want.
I got a lot more to ask you. We'll be back with George after this. We're back with George Clooney, everybody. So once it didn't work out in baseball,
yes.
you go from Kentucky to L.A.
Sure.
Theater scene. What were your early plays?
I did some really bad plays early. I haven't done a play, by the way, in 40 years.
Yeah,
so
that's kind of crazy.
Yeah,
at least you kind of came in easy. You didn't give yourself too much. Yeah.
And then I'll pace myself. The next 40 years, I'll do another one. Time-wise. I did some fun play. I did a play in Chicago at Steppenwolf Theater called Vicious, about Sid Vicious, which was, I was much younger then. But most of the time in LA, the theater scene was usually to try to get an agent or a manager,
right.
or they were kind of just like showcases, basically.
You, I think we all got to know you from ER, but your first on-screen performance was, in your first paid gig, was on a television show called E/R.
Yeah, there was ER. It was a sitcom with Elliot Gould. Called ER. It was a Chicago hospital. It's crazy.
So, it sounds like we're doing a bit.
Yeah, no.
This was a true thing.
That's a true thing. Yeah. I had a mullet.
Yeah.
That I wish I had right now over what I have right now.
You were not a doctor in ER, the comedy.
I was an intern.
Okay, gotcha.
I was an intern, and I was working with Conchata Ferrell and Elliot Gould and Lynn Moody.
I mean, those are great. Great actors, Conchata and Elliot. Yeah.
I was really lucky to get a chance, and it was a great education on how to be on a television series for a period of time. And then we only lasted a season.
Yeah. Do you remember what show you were on against? We looked up to see what your ratings.
It was pretty bad, right?
Your ratings weren't great, but there was a reason. You were on against the A-Team.
Oh, well, that's fair.
Yeah. You can't beat yourself up when you're up against the A-Team.
No, if you're losing to Mr. T.
Yeah,
it's okay.
Is that even losing?
No, it's not. It's actually kind of a victory.
Yeah.
Really.
We do have a clip from ER.
You do?
Yeah, let's take a look.
Oh, thanks.
So you're Doc Scheinfeld. I can't believe this. Aunt Joan here has talked about you forever.
Mark.
And you look just like she said. Tall and fuzzy.
Fuzzy? Wow. That's, how do I even have a career? I don't know.
Well, it's just amazing that when they were casting the second ER, they're like, I know a guy.
I got a guy.
He was an intern back then, so he should be a full doctor by now.
We'll make him, it was just a terrible.
One of my favorite shows this year, your old colleague Noah Wiley is in a show called The Pit, and he's back. I mean, he's back
have you guys seen that show?
It's wonderful.
It's so good, and I have to say we've been really dear friends since the show, since we did the pilot of the show. He is just the most honorable, talented, young man, I get to say, because I'm an old man. And I cannot be happier for his success on the show. The show is just a beautiful show, and he does just a great job with it.
And he goes back to I mean, he's doing the thing, you know, that you've outgrown, which he's going to go back and do all those medical terms all over again.
But he would never had trouble.
He really didn't, huh?
He always could do it.
Yeah.
I hated him for that.
Yeah.
Really
I think we all should. I think it's unfair. when
People should hate Noah.
I've taken the occasion in recent months to talk about a film I love a great deal called Michael Clayton.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm a huge fan
Shot
of
it
it.
right here.
And I don't think I'm giving anything away, but there's an incredible, the end of the film is just you in the back of a car.
In the back of a cab, yeah.
You're in the back of the cab, and it's, I remember watching it in the theater, and it's such a cool thing because we're basically just on your face for what feels like 3 minutes.
Yeah,
and just watching you sort of process everything that's just happened. And it's such a cool, novel thing, but how did you shoot it?
Well, that's the funniest thing. It's funny you would bring that up. We shot it out here, and we were stealing the location. Now, when you see it, people would come up to me going, you know...
So stealing location, just for everybody, like you didn't have a permit to
We didn't have
shoot
any
it.
permits
Okay,
or
great.
anything. We just put a bunch of lights on a car and dragged it through the middle of Midtown in the middle of the day, which is a stupid thing to do, because if anything happens, everybody's like, what the hell?
Yeah.
And I don't say a word in this scene. It's literally 3 minutes of me just staring ahead, and people will come up to me going, you know, what were you going through, and what were you know, I felt all of the emotions of Michael at the end. You know, they really put on it what they want. But we were stealing this location, so all I'm trying to do, because as we're driving through, stopped at stoplight, people are just going, hey, George Clooney! Hey, look at you! And all I'm trying to do, this is true, is not laugh. All I'm doing is like this. And people are like, God, it was meant so much. And literally like, hey, look at me! Look at this! Hey! Ah! As only New Yorkers
Well, you
could do.
truly, if anybody ever needed more proof you're a fantastic actor, that
Exactly.
story.
I deserve it for that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank
Congrats on the Tony nomination. Break a leg on
Thank you.
Saturday. Thank you so much.
Thank
Well, everybody, good night and good luck. Plays through Sunday at the Winter Garden Theater. Airs Saturday at 7 p.m. on CNN. We'll be right back with Jennifer Simard and Christopher Cedar.